Now, the fight over the ACA is not quite over, as some might have you believe. This weekend, President Trump spoke to the Financial Times about negotiations for repeal and replacement of Obamacare. Yes, he is still working on that, but he's like the only one. During this interview, Trump apparently didn't realize just how bad of a defeat that he suffered at the hands of the so-called Freedom Caucus. He says, quote, "Yeah, I don't lose. I don't like to lose. But that wasn't a definitive day. There was no reason to take a vote. I said, don't take a vote, and we will see what happens." Wait a minute. I told him no, don't take a vote. No, you actually, that's the opposite of what you said. You actually said, hey, take a vote. In fact, according to the White House budget director, Mick Mulvaney, Trump had demanded that we take the vote, that he was tired of waiting, tired of trying to get support for his health care bill. So he's like, just vote on it already. Let's go. Oops. Oh, but since it didn't turn out the way he wanted it to, I didn't call for that vote. What are you talking about? Mulvaney said that Trump was done negotiating and wanted an up or down vote now. So that was in the past, right? But see, look, this goes to who Donald Trump is. He never takes responsibility when things don't go wrong, or when things don't go right, when they go wrong. He's like, no, it's not my fault. It's never my fault. It was them. It was the Democrats. It was the Freedom Caucus. It was their fault. No. Donald, you did lose. You lost big league. You wanted a vote, and you knew you didn't have the votes, and it blew up in your face. But see, the thing is, he's not gonna own it, because he can't stand being a loser. And that is the one thing that he is most afraid of, being a loser. Now he says, quote, "But one way or the other, I promise the people great health care. We are going to have great health care in this country now. It will be in one form or the other. It will be a repeal and replace of Obamacare, which is a deal that is being negotiated now." With who? With who? Who are you negotiating with? No, Paul Ryan in the Freedom Caucus are like, we're not really worried about this anymore, especially Paul Ryan. And the fact that, oh no, I promised for great health care. Okay, well, where was that health care plan? Sure as hell wasn't that abomination that was shot down in Congress. Look, most of your Republican voters didn't even want that flaming dumpster fire of a bill to pass. There was only one thing worse than Trumpcare, and that's going back to the way it was before the ACA. Which, of course, would suit your donors just fine. In fact, that's kind of what the donors really wanted. They just wanted to get rid of all the taxes. In fact, Trumpcare was just a giant tax cut for the rich to the tune of about $600 billion, mostly for the wealthiest Americans. So stop with the "I promised great health care." No, you didn't. If you actually did give a shit about giving good health care, excuse my language, you'd support the Medicare for All bill introduced by John Conyers and one that's going to be introduced by Bernie Sanders. If you actually cared, you'd be pushing for that. Universal health care. Now, more blaming from Trump. He says, if we don't get the Freedom Caucus there, that would be fine. They're friends of mine. Many of them have already left, but many of them, as you know, have already given us their vote. But when you have 0 Democrats, 0, you need close to 100% of the Republicans. Yeah, you were never going to get the Democrats. Not in that kind of thing. When you try to go and repeal Obamacare and replace it with something worse, yeah, you're not going to get the Democrats. See, here's the thing he doesn't understand. He's not a CEO, he's a politician. And when you're a politician, you kind of have to compromise if you want to get anything done. So what happened to the art of the deal? Well, just like the book that he didn't write, he also had nothing to do with writing this healthcare bill. He didn't even know it was in it. He actually thought that this would give great healthcare, when every study, every single thing said it would lead to less healthcare for people and more expensive premiums. It's ridiculous. But again, he didn't know what was in his plan. He didn't know what was in his own plan. It was essentially the Ryan plan, showing that Donald Trump's nothing more than an empty suit, a stooge that promises everything and gives nothing. Now, finally, he said that, quote, that in trying to create a new bill with the Democrats is, quote, the second way to go, saying he would hate to see that because then the Freedom Caucus loses so big. He might actually be right about that, because the Freedom Caucus, out of all things, is actually even much more of a loser. Like, every time that they try to do something, they overreach and then end up sabotaging the deal. For example, all the stuff in the debt ceiling, which, by the way, there's another debt ceiling fight coming up. That's going to be very interesting. Healthcare, they wanted more. They wanted the healthcare bill to be more draconian. They wanted the healthcare bill to give more tax cuts for the rich. They wanted it to kick the poor people into the face even more. So, look, they overreach, and it turns out to blow up in their face. That's what the Freedom Caucus is doing. So, that's funny. But, look, he says, if we don't get what we want, we will make a deal with the Democrats, and we will have, in my opinion, not as good a form of health care, but we are going to have a very good form of health care, and it will be a bipartisan form of health care, Trump said. Again, what makes you think that the Democrats are going to make a deal to repeal and replace Obamacare, as you said? Hey, look, if you want to do something bipartisan, you know what would be a great idea? Go with the public option. That's easy. Right now, more and more Democrats are signing on to single payer, and they might be able to negotiate down to a public option. And then, of course, Democrats get into power. If progressives, I should say, progressive Democrats get into power, not the centrist corporatist Democrats, you would actually have then the push to full single payer, which would be nice. But if you want to fix the problems with Obamacare, here's what you do. You open up Medicare. Look, I know I just said public option might be a good way to go, but right now that's a Band-Aid. Single payer is the solution to all those problems. The ACA stuff. All the problems in the ACA can be solved by going to a Medicare for all system. All the problems, of course, that regular people have an issue with. Access to health care. Premiums, co-pays, deductibles. Gone. All that's gone. Yes, it's going to cost more. And guess what? Regular human beings are not really concerned about that. They're concerned about the cost to them, which a Medicare for all system will actually save the average taxpayer more money. Yes, it would come out of their taxes instead of a premium, but in the end, it would end up with more savings. That's what's going on here. So, Trump, if you want to actually fix this, work with the Democrats, work with John Conyers, work with Bernie Sanders. They'd be more than happy to work with you to push Medicare for all, if you were serious. But look, of course, not only that, right, but a majority of the American people want single payer. It polls extremely well. 81% among Democrats, 58% of all Americans overall, according to a Gallup poll, said that we would want to replace the ACA with a federally funded single-payer system. That was a poll done last year. So, look, if you want to win with the American people, you want to actually be a winner, you don't want to be a loser, then actually go with policy that the American people actually want. And that is single-payer. That is single-payer. But, of course, Donald Trump, look, I know he's not going to go that direction. Why? Because he serves the donors and not the American people. And besides, among all this, got to remember, President doesn't actually introduce legislation. And right now, I don't think Paul Ryan is planning on doing another repeal go. Okay? No, what the Republicans want to do, that they've signaled, is that they want to move on with cutting corporate taxes and then dealing with, of course, a very possible government shutdown. They're a little busy. They've had their health care fight. They lost. Paul Ryan and the rest of the Republicans are ready to move on. Donald Trump apparently is not, because it hurt its ego. Of course. But hey, the good thing is, Donald Trump, if you want to focus on bungling healthcare again with no support from Republicans and no way to get anything passed in Congress while fighting with the Freedom Caucus, all right, please do. It just means you damage other things a lot less. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.